Hey, how are you? Beattie here, John Beattie, International Director of the British People's League. Just getting the stage set here for today's Dinosaur News. Dinosaur News brought to you by thebritishpeoplesleague.com. It is Tuesday, June the 10th, 2014. Get myself in spot here. Well, I hope you're fine. I usually start off with some kind of twitchy note, don't I? I never really criticize those in our own camp. The South African situation is getting desperate. Pretty well the topic today is what's happening in South Africa to the white farmers who are being slaughtered. A Facebook friend, sent me this note yesterday by Facebook. First name Winston, I guess that's allowed. Hi John, I don't know if you have seen this yet, but the Mail online published an article on the escalation of land seizures in former Rhodesia. I hate calling it Zimbabwe, but it sounds like such a stupid name that when I say Zimbabwe, to me it's like a great big can full of nuts and bolts. The link, and we will have the link put up into Facebook pages, etc., as best we can. Mugabe is apparently determined to... Yeah, this is Mugabe with the Palace of Gold, folks. You look up Mugabe Palace or Mugabe headquarters, Zimbabwe. Golden lilted chairs, pure gold, about 100 of them. Massive golden tables. Well, people are starving, black and white. What's new in history? Mugabe is apparently determined to drive the remaining 2,900 white farmers off their land by August 8, 2014. Just around the corner, folks. This has terrible consequences for the farmers and the population of Zimbabwe as a whole. If they succeed in doing this, it will give impetus to applying a similar law in South Africa. The South African farmers, as you know, are already under severe threat from escalating incidents of farm murders and pressure from the African National Congress and groups to force the Boers off their land. Please, can you spread this information about the impending land seizures in Zimbabwe to your audience? It will help to show the plight that they and South African farmers face. Thank you, Winston. Well, certainly, Winston, but I can tell you a shock for this boy. I mean, a shock. Takes a lot to shock me after decades of fighting for white survival. A shock is the headline, which I'm going to show the audience now. You'd swear that one of our camp printed this headline to scare people, to stir people up. Zimbabwe white farmers must fight or flee. Now, let's do our best to get this heading up on the camera nicely. Okay. Zimbabwe Mail online. Zimbabwe white farmers must fight or flee. So there's the heading. So you know Beattie's not making this up. Thousands of Zimbabwe's white farmers must decide by midnight tonight whether to fight President Robert Mugabe's government and risk jail. Risk certain death. To fight and risk life and limb, or to flee lands they have farmed for generations. And Beattie slipping in, of course, fed the breadbasket. Rhodesia and South Africa, well, Rhodesia was no longer, but was the breadbasket for Africa, for the blacks. The whites are feeding the blacks. Doesn't that ring a bell around the whole bloody globe? And the globe is getting bloody for white people. Try Detroit. Try Toronto, Jane and Wilson. Try Adelaide, Australia. Try Melbourne, Australia. Try Chicago. I mean, come on. what do we need for a wake-up call? That was Beattie interluding there. Carrying on with the article. Bringing his program to reclaim land occupied by white settlers up to 112 years to a crescendo, Mugabe has given nearly 3,000 of the country's 4,000 white farmers a Thursday deadline to hand over their land for occupation by blacks. My, Beattie there. Under a land seizure law, a farmer who defies an eviction order faces a fine and up to 2 years in prison. Yeah, well, there's videos proving there's a lot more than a fine. There's torture by machete death. Women, children, babies, the works. Where's the world press screaming about that? Oh, they'll scream about the questionable John Beattie as a candidate for deputy reeve in the middle of some little village in the middle of nowhere. Oh, question that. But it's okay if babies are slaughtered and not a peep out of all you righteous liberal bastards. You pukes. Well, we know the score, and just a few more tips like this and we're ready, okay? Ready, willing, and able. Legal cells interconnected throughout the old white Commonwealth. We're ready to fight legally. For defense purposes, that's still legal. Even the United Nations can't skirt around the legality of defending yourself. A cell system. I'm interrupting this article. There's some activists in Britain, some very smart active types. Now, I replied on one of the forums when they made a new Lord Mayor of Birmingham, descended from Pakistan, of course, new Lord Mayor of Birmingham. My. Like the old Sheriff of Nottingham, as black as the ace of spades. I'm sure Robin Hood would be pleased to know that the Sheriff of Nottingham was a nice colored gentleman. So I commented, proving too late for elections, suggesting legal cells of patriots, confidential and secretive, amongst smaller circles of friends, to be ready for come what may. Throughout the old white Commonwealth, the cell formations must begin now, with very thin cell connectors to avoid the enemy press, etc. And the reply to that thought was by a gentleman, and his reply was that Jim Saliam of the Australia First Party advocates a three-tier approach. John, it's working there slowly. Well, that's a nice admission. Slowly isn't the goddamn, slowly isn't the word. And can work in any white country. Well, I'm sorry. Dream on. It's too late for what? You got Lord Mayor of Birmingham, and then you've got the schools taken over in the inner core of Birmingham by Muslims. The Trojan horse that the government has just realized, oh my. It's coming to a crescendo, folks. Carrying on with the actual article. President Mugabe said, what's the rest here? On Wednesday, Zimbabwe State Radio quoted Mugabe as saying, in Singapore, he was determined to press ahead with his land reforms. Despite allegations, he was wrecking the country's farm-based economy. Farm-based economy by white farmers. Oh, is that racism? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, the farmers were white. Is it racist to be identified? You can have pride in the farms that you provided to feed the coloreds of all of Africa. Oh yeah, Beattie's just hysterical. That headline was just made up from the online mail. President Mugabe said that the fast-track resettlement program, isn't that nice? Sounds shades of the Soviet Union. We're going to resettle you to Siberia and the Gulag. The resettlement program time is now over, and the government is now concentrating on making the new farmers productive. Hardy har har. You've seen the citizens in downtown Detroit, really productive farmers. Oh yeah, right. They're starving in Zimbabwe. No mention of the eviction deadline. Zimbabwe government officials refused to comment on the issue on Wednesday. They said Joseph Musika, acting president while Mugabe is abroad, would make a statement at an appropriate time. Yeah, after all the bodies are lined up, all the white bodies are lined up like cordwood. Some sources said he was likely to reaffirm the government's drive. Look, we all know what's taken place over the last 35 years in Rhodesia, South Africa. Carrying on with the article, the majority of Zimbabwe's 4,000 white commercial farmers are of British origin, because Rhodesia had more of the English connection, whereas South African whites had more of the ancient Dutch 400 years prior, the Boer people, proud stock that they are. Their families, those of British origin, have lived off the land throughout the past century, helping to build what was until recently one of Africa's strongest economies. Commercial agriculture, dominated by tobacco, is the mainstay of Zimbabwe's economy, and analysts say its disruption through state-backed farm massacres, has compounded food shortages and severe economic crisis blamed on government mismanagement. But Mugabe, Zimbabwe's sole ruler since the former Rhodesia gained independence in 1980, asked some of the opposition members how they felt getting beat up by Mugabe's voters, says his land seizures are meant to correct the wrongs of British colonialism, which left 70% of the country's best farmland in white hands. And the ones taken over by blacks, what are they now? Nothing but deserted, barren wastelands. Beattie interjecting there. The 78-year-old president, I put president in quote marks, says he plans to complete his fast-track land resettlement program by the end of August. 90 days to quit, subheadline. In May, Mugabe signed a law giving 2,900 farmers 45 days to wind up their operations, and another 45 days expiring at midnight on August 8th to move off their land and make way for black settlers. Some of the farmers say they will go, others say they will defy the land acquisition and eviction orders and fight both through the courts. Good luck with that, JB here. White farmers' leaders have been working feverishly behind closed doors to win an extension of the deadline. What good's an extension? Let's get it over with. Fight! Stand up and fight now! The extension of a deadline, but the government sources said the chances of a reprieve are slim. Mugabe, forbidden under Western sanctions to set foot in the United States or any European Union country, is on a business trip to Asia. And Agriculture Minister Joseph Beattie is away in Iran. Does Iran ring a bell? Beattie said that. But local government minister Ignatius Chombo, who chairs the government's Land Acquisition Audit Committee, I can't stand it, committee after committee while they slaughter, warned on Tuesday that any farmer who defied the government's eviction orders would face the full wrath of the law. I think he should have said, JB, or the full wrath of jungle law. Zimbabwe has been in crisis since February 2000, when pro-government militants led by the veterans of the 1970s Liberation War began invading white-owned farms. With the full back of the United Nations. You hypocritical liberal bastards, you make me sick thinking about you. Liberal penthouse creeps. 11 white farmers have been killed during the farm invasions, and thousands of black workers have been assaulted and forced to abandon farms. 11? 11? What a lie! Thousands have been slaughtered. You just have to look it up and Google it. Commercial Farmers Union represents the white farmers, says it supports land distribution, but is opposed to the system employed by the government. Cave in an inch, give a mile. Our position is that people should not give in because we're in a crisis as a country, Justice for Agriculture Chairman David Conley told reporters. Zimbabwe, usually a grain exporter, is facing a severe food shortage caused by the disruptions coupled with drought. The European Union and the United States have imposed sanctions on Mugabe. They're doing a lot of good, folks, JB here. The sanctions are doing a lot of good. Not like the sanctions they put on brave Ian Smith, who stood up for white unilateral rule in Rhodesia till the entire world collapsed on him, and when the liberal whites in South Africa gave Smith over to the jungle. Beattie there. The European Union and the United States have imposed sanctions on Mugabe and his ruling elite over his land policy and after his controversial re-election as president in March. Yeah, controversial. You vote for Mugabe or you're dead. That was the campaign slogan. Many Western powers say the election was rigged. Oh my, what a discovery. Election was rigged and are backing demands by the main opposition movement for democratic change, MDC, for a fresh poll. Yeah, another fresh poll and a few slaughters in between. JB. Mugabe insists he won fairly and dismisses calls for a rerun as attempts to impose MDC leader Morgan Tsvangirai as leader of the South African country. What's the difference if you change the men on the chessboard? Not one iota of difference. I talked about some criticism that I wouldn't be enjoying to do, to allocate. Well, criticism or a warning as a result of this horrible, shocking headline. It's pretty obvious. Legal cells have to organize now. You get to know 3 or 4 pals wherever you are in the bushlands of Rhodesia, Old Rhodesia, Zimbabwe, or South Africa. All the Rhodesians can do now is retreat. Get to Britain as quick as you can. Take your losses unless you'd rather die for your land. Well, that's a toss-up of a coin, isn't it? D-Day just over, and a lot of people did die for freedom of the land. But this is just going to be a massacre. And then in South Africa's next. Now we have a great friend on Facebook, has a terrific setup called South African Farm Watch, SA Farm Watch. Well, all the farm watches have got to get together and organize legal cells for legal defense, massive legal defense in South Africa, come hell or come high water. Or otherwise, you just have to leave your land and get out. Either that or be prepared to fight to the death for your lands. The dreams have got to stop. And then, with South Africa as our focal point, that's us, okay? Whether Toronto, Vancouver, Melbourne, Australia, you name it in the motherland, Birmingham, Bradford, Leeds, London itself. South Africa is just a focal point, the little wee storm that's heading full blast into all white nations. So we all have to form cell structures, legal cell structures for defense mechanism. So don't do anything illegal. But you can still have a secret cell, whether it was just your bowling club, your darts club. You then have heard Beattie's video and you realize, well, Beattie's right. We've got to have a different branch besides our social club of darts or curling or bowling or whatever. Within our social clubs, we've organized cell structures who are aware of the genocide against our white race as diversity equal white genocide. So that's the scoop, folks. Hope it did you justice, Winston. I'm still shocked by the plea there. I'm shocked by the role that I'm being cast into. I don't have to worry about a job loss because I quit my job. Don't have to worry about landlord throwing me out because I own the house. And perhaps that's one of the reasons I'm free to speak out, and I will till my dying breath. More important bulletins, send them to britishcanada@gmail.com. britishcanada@gmail.com. Hello to our friends at Candor in the United Kingdom. Candor, C-A-N-D, like candy. Candor, C-A-N-D-O-U-R. Candor.org.uk. That's it for today. Thanks, Winston. Remember, white South Africans, folks. We'll talk at you the next time. Goodbye for now.